Good afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to the Elizabethtown City Council regular meeting for April 1st, 2019, and ask Councilman Bertha Willoughby to lead us in the invocation.
Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. For your goodness, blessings you bestow on each of us. Lord, we thank you for an area that we can work, live, and play. But Lord, more important than that, a place of worship. Thank you, Lord, that this community has churches that stand in the gap, Lord, that share your word faithfully, and we thank you, Lord, for that. Lord, I thank you for our mayor, fellow council members. Lord, I would just ask you to help us make decisions that are honoring to you, Lord, that are right, and for our community to see it prosper in the months and years to come. Lord, I pray for all of our city employees, Lord, especially our emergency service workers, our police department, and Lord, just all that they do, Lord, to make this community what it is. But most of all, Lord, what you do. We love you and we thank you. We thank you for your goodness. Just ask you to bless our Elizabethtown mission team that's in Elizabethtown, North Carolina. Lord, just watch over them, help them to see fruits of their labor. And Lord, again, we just ask that you would meet with us, help us to honor and glorify you, and all we say that it's in your name we do pray.
Amen. If you remain standing, turn towards the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to approve the minutes for March 18, 2019 meeting. I need a motion in a second.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? And we'll start off with a presentation or two. The first will be Mr. Stacy Reynolds from the Heritage Council.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Gregory and council members for having me once again. I guess I'll update you on some downtown events first. We had a very successful second Saturday in March, the St. Baldrick's Foundation. Despite the rainy weather, they reported that it was a record-setting fundraiser for them. I know the city was very much involved in promoting that and participating in that event. And I just wanted to thank you for doing so. We have an event for April that's going to be an Easter spring theme. Going to have some rock hunting downtown. The Easter Bunny will be on hand. And going to have some face painting for the kids as well. We are less than 2 months away from the Barbecue Blues and Bikes Festival. I just wanted to give you a quick report on it. We are in very good shape for that festival. We are far ahead of our pace normally for our vendors. We've gotten a number of bike ride applications and barbecue contest applications in already. I'll try to keep this short, but there's one more item I wanted to kind of give you an update on. We had some developments internally with the Heritage Council at our last board meeting. We've decided to create 2 committees. And what we want these committees to do is to help us focus on our big picture goal, which is just to make downtown Elizabethtown better. The first committee will be a downtown marketing committee. This committee will come up with ideas on how best to market the entire historic downtown Elizabethtown area. This will include businesses downtown, properties located in the downtown district, and then the downtown as a whole as a travel and entertainment destination. This committee will also work to create new events that will showcase our downtown and generate additional traffic and business for our downtown merchants. The second committee will be a downtown design and beautification committee. This committee will come up with ideas for downtown improvement projects that we can then implement to make downtown more attractive to tourists, residents, and potential new business as well as new developers. We've decided to allocate a portion of our general operating fund to each of these committees, and we will designate a portion of all funds that we generate through our events and membership drives to each of these committees. We are just now recruiting members for both of those committees. We're doing so internally with our board as well as externally. So if you have any recommendations, send them my way, please. I'm excited about both of those committees. I think it helps bring our focus a little bit more in line with what our overall goal is as an organization. And I'm excited to see what develops in the coming months. Any questions on any of those?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. I want to ask Mr. Will Rivera and his wife if they would please come up here real quick. I've got something I'd like to give them. They have been named by the United States Small Business Administration as one of the outstanding veteran-owned small business people of the year. Here, y'all come up here if you like. So know ye that Will Rivera Running Souls LLC is proclaimed an outstanding veteran-owned small business of the year of the city of Elizabethtown. This recognition and proclamation is made this first day of April 2019 by Mayor Jeffrey H. Gregory. So I want to tell them that we're very proud of them. They were one of the first to go downtown and take the plunge during our revitalization. They built a great, lasting, strong business down there, and we're excited that they're doing so wonderful and excited to keep working with them into the future. So congratulations.
That's outstanding.
Okay, next order of business, we have some first reading of some ordinances. Start with ordinance number 6, 2019, regulating fishing in all city parks, lakes, and waterways. I need a motion and second.
I'll move. Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Whereas the city desires to regulate fishing by individuals at all city parks, lakes, and waterways in a fair and consistent manner, and whereas the Commonwealth of Kentucky regulates and enforces fishing across the state, and whereas the city of Elizabethtown needs to reestablish how boating fees are set, and whereas the city wishes to follow the guidelines set forth by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources for fishing in the city's parks, lakes, and waterways, and to follow the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources to enforce creel limits and state fishing permit requirements. And whereas this would provide a fair fishing experience for all citizens, now therefore be it ordained that the Elizabethtown City Council repeals ordinances listed herein that are inconsistent with regulations established by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources regarding fish, including the size and number of fish allowable to be caught and kept. These ordinances are being repealed. Ordinance dated February 3rd, 1969, the fishing regulations at Freeman Lake. Ordinance dated March 2nd, 1970, fishing activities at Freeman Lake. Ordinance dated February 1st, 1971, regulating fishing activities at Freeman Lake. Ordinance number 56, 1980, dated December 22nd, 1980, limiting the number of catfish and fishing in city of Elizabethtown impoundments. Ordinance number 25, 1984, dated December 17, 1984, providing for fees for Freeman Lake Park. Ordinance number 24, 1986, dated September 2nd, 1986, limiting type of fishing in the lakes of the city. And ordinance number 4, 2002, dated February 19, 2002, establishing fees and regulations regarding activities at Freeman Lake Park. Be it further ordained by the city as follows. For fishing permits, a daily or annual city and state permit shall be required to fish in any city-owned parks, lakes, and waterways. Fees shall be set by the city council in the annual budget for each fiscal year. Under daily fish limit and size, the daily fish limits, including number, species, and size, will be set and enforced by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. For boat rentals, an hourly or rental fee for boats shall be established by the city council in the annual budget for each fiscal year. Under enforcement, the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife officers and all other peace officers have the authority to enforce this ordinance in regards to permits and daily fish limit and size. Under penalties, any person who violates this ordinance is subject to any penalty established for the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. Further, violation of this ordinance may also be subject to penalty established under section 10.99 under the City of Elizabethtown Code of Ordinances. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or his designate is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, read the first time, this is the first day of April, 2019.
Lots of reading about fishing and.
Yeah, a lot of about it, but you understand what we're doing again. We're just kind of sweeping out all the old, and then this will, move us forward and bring us in compliance with the state.
And for clarification purposes, basically what she read was that all the old ordinances that we had in effect were different than state law. So now what we're doing is we're putting all of ours back under what state law is. So when the game wardens go out and they enforce it, it's the same at every lake that they go to instead of different when they come to ours. So we're just trying to get in step with what they're doing and making it a lot easier for everybody. Okay, next is ordinance number 7, 2019, amending zoning map for 211 North Main Street. I need a motion and a second to read. So,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission held a public hearing on March 26, 2019, initiated by Elizabethtown Renaissance Associates LLC for property located at 211 North Main Street, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission, based on the testimony at the public hearing, determined that the request to amend the official zoning map for property located at 211 North Main Street to a proposed zoning district classification of downtown mixed use, which is C5, would be appropriate for the property, as the Planning Commission found the request to be in agreement with the city's comprehensive plan. In conformance with KRS 100, the Planning Commission has transmitted to the City Council findings of fact and a recommendation for approval of said request to amend the official zoning map, including a summary of evidence and testimony from said hearing. Now be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that the official zoning map is amended for property located at 211 North Main Street from urban residential general, which is R4, to downtown mixed use, which is C5. This action is taken pursuant to a request by the Elizabethtown Renaissance Associates LLC for the property located at 211 North Main Street and pursuant to the recommendation of the Elizabethtown Planning Commission. The City Council also finds that the request is in agreement with the city's comprehensive plan and that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate. The findings of fact of the Planning Commission in support of this zoning map amendment are adopted as if set out verbatim. The legal description of said property is more particularly described in Exhibit A. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city, or his designate being, he is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read this the first time, the first day of April 2019.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next, we have ordinance number 08, 2019, amending zoning map for 571 Pine Valley Drive. Motion second.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
So, all right. Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission held a public hearing on March the 26th, 2019, initiated by Heartland Golf Club LLC for property located at 571 Pine Valley Drive, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission, based on the testimony at the public hearing, determined that the request to amend the official zoning map for property located at 571 Pine Valley Drive to a proposed zoning district classification of urban residential limited, which is R3, would be appropriate for the property, as the Planning Commission found the request to be in agreement with the city's comprehensive plan. In conformance with KRS 100, the Planning Commission has transmitted to the City Council findings of fact and a recommendation for approval of said request to amend the official zoning map, including a summary of evidence and testimony from said hearing. Now be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that the official zoning map is amended for property located at 571 Pine Valley Drive from Suburban Residential Limited, R1, Urban Residential Limited, R3. This action is taken pursuant to a request by the Heartland Golf Club LLC for property located at 571 Pine Valley Drive and pursuant to the recommendation of the Elizabethtown Planning Commission. City Council also finds that the request is in agreement with the city's comprehensive plan and that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate. The findings of fact of the Planning Commission in support of the zoning map amendment are adopted as if set out verbatim. The legal description of said property is more particularly described in Exhibit A. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or his designate be and he is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read the first time, this the first day of April 2019.
And I think we have some discussion on this.
Jim, care if we put you on the spot for a second? My questions are just about procedural things.
Okay.
And to make sure that we understand the protocol and the laws that are in place on ordinance number 7 and number 8, which are both dealing with zoning changes or map amendments. I guess the first thing would just be a general comment that we have a comprehensive plan. It's a legal document. And that when developers come to the planning staff, at the staff level, and ask for changes, then those changes or waivers that they ask for go before the commission. I guess my first comment is that's not an extraordinary thing. That is a typical thing. And that is a part of all planning departments and all planning commissions, because my understanding is the comprehensive plan is a general framework. And within that plan, we know that that is a document that was established X number of years ago. And it's hard to predict in which area a town is going to grow and how it's going to grow. So that's a general framework. And then within that general framework, we expect zoning amendments and waivers and things like that. In other words, that's just kind of a normal give and take part of the department, the way I understand it.
That's correct. And the comprehensive plan is a requirement of state law, just as the zoning ordinance and the procedure that we follow for making changes to the zoning map are done according to state law. The plan that we have in place, the comprehensive plan, was adopted in 2004, so that it's getting close to the end of its useful life. But it still is doing a fairly good job for us in making land use decisions and changes to the zoning map. And it does still address, even though we've done some annexations, it still addresses those parts of the city.
On these two ordinances that we have before us now with the first reading, public hearings were held for each of those.
That's correct.
And it's my understanding that any decision that this council makes as a body and individually, all of our decisions are derived from testimony, have to be derived from testimony that was at that hearing.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
Yes.
So everything we take from that hearing is the only thing that we have as a basis for us to make our decision legally.
Right. And there is a video recording that's been made available to all the council members.
Okay.
It shows the entirety of the meeting.
If I personally think that the testimony that was given at one of those hearings was inaccurate or biased or wrong, or if I just think I've got an idea of what I think will happen 10 years from now, if we accept or don't accept one of those ordinances, my personal opinion, is that valid enough for me to make a decision on one of these ordinances?
Your decision should be based on, primarily on the
Yes.
comprehensive plan.
And testimony.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to a certain extent, our personal opinions, which is what governing is sometimes, but our personal opinions are not always what we're going to use in order to make and render a decision. Because we are bound by law to use the testimony at the hearings. We are to base our decisions based on that testimony.
Yes. And you have to weigh the testimony that was given. Obviously, some of what was said was primarily personal opinion, again, so you have to weigh the testimony that was given.
And if we were to disagree with the ordinance as it is written, then it's upon us as an individual council member to state why we think that it is in conflict with our comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Yes, you have to make your own findings.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we cannot drive to one of these areas and formulate an opinion of our own. That's not based on the testimony at the hearing.
Correct.
Okay.
For the mayor, council members, I have not spoken to anyone that lives in Pine Valley Drive. However, I have looked at 4 hours of DVD.
That's fine.
It was a lot. But I've also looked at the comprehensive plan. And as a police officer, we go by KRS, Kentucky Revised Statutes. Everything is black and white for the most part. Every now and then you might come across something that's got a little bit of gray area. So when I look at the comprehensive plan, I'm looking at what I think is the Kentucky Revised Statutes for the city of Elizabethtown when it comes to planning and zoning. So, as I have looked at the comprehensive plan, under Elizabethtown goals and objectives, page 21, number 4, infill housing compatible with the surrounding neighborhood should be encouraged and providing affordable housing alternatives while utilizing existing infrastructure more efficiently. So to me, as I look at that, I know what it says should be encouraged. It doesn't say it has to be. Goals, J, page 25, Elizabethtown needs to grow. Elizabethtown should continue to provide areas logically and practically suited for growth that will enhance the overall quality of life in the community. Number 3, development should occur in patterns where compatible, interdependent uses are adjacent, where densities are similar yet efficiently distributed on a community-wide basis. I believe what way I read this, we're talking about the particular neighborhood. Existing number 6, I'm sorry. Existing desirable land use patterns should be identified and protected from intrusions by incompatible land uses. Step 1, compliance with community-wide development policies, page 29. The size and scale of the development and redevelopment should reflect the character and style of surrounding uses in light of nature and desirability of a particular project. I stopped there because I could have went on. To me, there is a lot of gray area. However, it's not compatible with the rest of the neighborhood. That's what I look at here, and that's why I will go against. Just my thoughts. What else? You have something?
Did I say something? No, I was just processing what he said. No.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks.
May I ask a question, Virgil, for the law? We have to present a finding of fact. Are you going to present that to the council, or is that just what you have laid out?
I just like to be noted for record. I think they've made a poor decision based on the comprehensive plan. But I just want it to be noted, because if none of you feel that way, I want my voice to be heard. That's thank you.
Right, and I get that. I guess, again, the question is, are you going to present that as a finding of fact formally, council?
Well, it'll be necessary if that becomes the majority vote,
Okay.
To overturn the decision of planning. But otherwise, there's no need to create that. I mean, he stated that on the record, but yes, I assume, if that does become a majority to turn it down, you will take some of what you've said and put that into some.
I guess my question there is, and I respect what Councilman Willoughby has said, is that his opinion that is contrary to the comprehensive plan, or is that factual that is contrary to? I guess what I would like to hear is, if that's his opinion, that it is contrary to the comprehensive plan. I guess I would like to hear how that's not accurate and it's supportive of the comprehensive plan, but we're out of the testimony stage of the hearing is closed. And that almost sounds like evidence that would be at the hearing. And nobody presented that evidence at the hearing, so I'm just trying to make sure I get my arms wrapped around it in the appropriate way. My decision should not be based on what Mr. Willoughby just said. It should be based on testimony at the hearing, if I understand the law correctly.
Well, your comments are correct, and I'll let Dee Dee expand if I don't answer it clear enough for you. But the testimony at the hearing, what Jim and his staff did, and I apologize, I was not at the hearing that night, but typically what is done is the comprehensive plan is introduced into the record along with the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations. Those are documents that both the Planning Commission and this body have adopted as required by KRS 100. So that information is in the record. So that is part of the basis of the record that you all make your decisions on. What Councilman Willoughby is stating is he's looked at the comprehensive plan, which is perfectly fine because it's a document in the record. So yes, you all can base your decisions on your view of what that plan says, and you all may, as Councilman Willoughby has stated, right now, he's looked at that document, which was in the record, so that's part of the testimony, and he may draw a different conclusion. Now, the problem gets to be, as you pointed out earlier, Councilman Chip, if you go out there and say, well, I did my own investigation and I looked at the drainage and I did my own traffic counts, that is not testimony that was in the record. But if you all said, oh, the residents talked about the drainage issue out there and I read the record about the drainage issue, that's perfectly fine because that was in the record, just as the comprehensive plan is in the record. So you can read that document and you may come to a different conclusion, a different opinion than what the recommendation from the Planning Commission is. And that's perfectly fine because it's in the record. The problem gets to be is when you gather information that's not in the record. But when the plan is introduced as part of that, I mean, yes, you can read that document and say, I looked at compatibility and that's an issue for me and it's in the record that way. And I understand the Planning Commission felt it was compatible. I don't, and that's perfectly fine to come to a different conclusion as long as your conclusion and your opinion, your vote, is based on the information that was in that record. And the comp plan is, so it's perfectly fine to review that document and come up with, this is my view of how I read that document.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to echo that, it seems like what he said, it does come down to that, that word compatibility. And, and everybody might have a different opinion about what is compatible and what's not in a given situation. And so that is interpretive.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Moving on to municipal orders. Municipal order number 17, 2019, amending alcohol policies for city facilities and parks. I need a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Excuse me, at a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the dates set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal orders duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the city adopted policies relating to alcohol, distilled spirits, wine, and malt-based beverages at city parks and facilities in February 2012, which were subsequently amended in March 2015 and December 2016. And now, whereas the city of Elizabethtown desires to amend the alcohol policy for the Elizabethtown Sports Park, now be it ordered by the Elizabethtown City Council that the alcohol policy, which is attached, be amended to allow alcohol to be served and sold at the Elizabethtown Sports Park, provided that all ABC licenses are obtained and all city and state laws are followed. Be it further ordered that the operations agreement dated August 27, 2018, between the city and the Elizabethtown Tourism and Convention Bureau will be amended to incorporate this change in policy and to address the administration of the policy at the park. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or his designate be and he is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. It adopted and approved this the first day of April 2019.
Thank you, ma'am. I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next, we have municipal order number 18, 2019, approving incentives to Sudol Affymetric LLC. I need a motion and a second to read.
So that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown wishes to support the creation of manufacturing jobs in the community, and whereas Sudol Affymetric is located in Elizabethtown at 350 Ring Road and will continue to provide 80 jobs in the community with the potential for 77 new positions. Now be it ordered that the city approves extending industrial development incentives to Sudol Affymetric as follows. The state KBI tax incentive, including partial refund of the Elizabethtown occupational license fee in the amount of 1% annually for 10 years for jobs created based upon approval by the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority, with actual reimbursement annually based on the number of jobs provided. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or his designated is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the first day of April 2019.
Motion and second to adopt.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
I'm in favor, Mayor. One thing that I'd like for us in the future, I think I mentioned this a couple of years ago when we had an order, probably with Sudol. The way the ordinance reads, it looks like that you're agreeing 1% of the occupational tax, which would be 1% or 1.35%, instead of 1% of the occupation. So to me, I know we all understand that it's 1%, but it's not 1% of the occupational tax, which is the way the ordinance tends
It
to
does,
read.
it does.
We'll look at that. So we can
So next time, I think
Clean up
we just
the
have to
wording.
clean that up.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, next we have municipal order number 19, 2019, approve change orders for Freeman Lake Park Office Building. Need a motion in a second. Second. All in favor? Opposed?
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas bids were accepted for the Freeman Lake Park Office Building from 84 Lumber for roofing by municipal order number 54, 2018, adopted on August the 6th, 2018. Now be it ordered that the city authorizes the mayor to approve the change order for the Freeman Lake Park Office Building roof insulation in the amount of $34,157.77. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or his designate be and he is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the first day of April 2019.
Okay, need a motion and a second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Before we read this next one, I want to say something real quick. My friend Mike Miller in the audience has been part of the Civil Service Commission for how long, sir?
I think 5 years.
5 years, okay. He's had some things come up here lately that he decided that he's going to take a break or step aside for a few minutes, so we had to find somebody to fill his spot, but I want to tell him how much we appreciate him, how much we appreciate the service, and the great job that he did. So before I read this one, I wanted to say that to you. Municipal order number 20, 2019, appointment to the Civil Service Commission of Edna B. Berger. I need a motion and a second. Motion.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
At the regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal orders duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the mayor of the city, per KRS 9.310, wishes to appoint Edna B. Berger to the Elizabethtown Civil Service Commission for a term to expire on March the 2nd, 2020. Now be it ordered that the mayor of the city and his designate is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, read, adopted, and approved this the first day of April 2019.
I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Gentlemen, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Only have one thing, Mayor, if I may. Happy 24th birthday to our city attorney.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
24
sounds pretty good.
I had her at 33 this morning.
Oh,
I'm willing to lay claim to 39. I'm not gonna
Another, somebody I want to recognize, my friend Bobby Jack Murphy out here in the audience, has also had some issues he's dealt with here lately. It's good to see him up and about, and we're thrilled to have him here with us and feeling as well as he is. So we're glad to have you. Thanks for coming out. Anybody else? Okay, we're not going in closed session tonight, so we can skip 8 and 9, which brings us to 10, which would be adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?